Hello again and welcome to Cup of Joe. As always, I'm your host, Jason McNeil. Now today on the show, we're going to discuss Trudeau buying the media, or so they say, right? I don't know, did he buy the media, did he not buy the media? You tell me. $595 million in the fall economic statement. That's how much they're going to allocate to, quote, trusted media sources. Now, a lot of people are, signaling alarm bells, alarms are going off because this is essentially what you're saying to me is that there's specifically print media, which is a dying industry. It's sort of having trouble surviving. There's a lot of newspapers that are falling. And you're going to give them a lifeboat, right? You're going to throw them a rat. Here, government money will allow you to survive, but you have to be a trusted media source. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, what it means is that the government will appoint a panel. That panel will have criteria. We don't know what exactly the criteria is at this point. But that criteria will be used by that panel to decide whether or not you, as a media source, are credible or not credible. Now, this obviously brings up a lot of problems because the media is supposed to hold the government accountable. Now, if the media is relying on government money to stay alive in an industry where they're dying, how are they going to do that? How are you going to say, yeah, I want to criticize the government, but by the way, I need the government to send me a check so I can do that? This doesn't sound... It doesn't pass the sniff test, right? The same way you would say, like, corporations are taking over media, there's too much corporate money in politics. This is just the opposite. Now, I'm going to be frank with you. The reason I think this is, as much as, quote, to buy the media, it's a Trump thing. Trump is anti-media. Trump is like the media is the enemy, and he's talking about corporate-owned media. That's what he means, right? The corporations or like privately backed media that is beholden to some investors or some, rich network head or whatever the case may be. Now, if the government is the network head, that's no better, right? Because then we're just being spoon-fed whatever the government wants us to hear. And the ones who don't support the government could die off and just won't be around, won't be available, won't be there for us. So the consumption of media becomes, government-funded news, which I know there's already some people that have a lot of issues with the CBC and the funding model of the CBC because they say it wouldn't really survive on its own and it needs this government money, and because it needs this government money, it has a certain lean, right? I'll say, yeah, I can see that, and I think it does have some lean, but it becomes a lot more concerning when the government starts picking winners and losers in media, right? Like if the government says, well, this is a trusted source and you can trust it, even just the government saying that, this is what they say about Trump. The government's saying you can't trust this media, you can't trust that media, this is bad. So the government's saying you can't trust that media and we're going to fund this media. I don't see how anyone can see it as a better option. So to me, I get it. It's posturing. It's signaling that media is very important and we are pro-media because Trump is anti-media. And I think it stinks. I think it's horrible. And I don't think we should allow it. I think we should really, really be on top of this one and, write your MPs and tell them you don't want this. Trudeau and the Liberal Party and the Canadian government should not be involved in picking winners and losers in media. That's how I feel about it. I'd love to know how you think about it. You can always hit me up on the website. You can get me on Twitter. It's @CupOfJoeCanada. And that's it for today.